a little late night with no more fielders here. So I'm chiming in because when me and Mitchell recorded this episode, it was less than 12 hours before the Adam DUVALL signing was announced. And I decided I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the last 10 minutes. It's really not worth your time to listen to us talk about Eli White, who is not going to be on the roster, or Jordan Luplow, who was cut by the Braves following the signing to explore other opportunities, which is a very generous way of putting it. As for the signing itself, I love it. $3 million, pretty decent deal for a guy who is going to be platooning in left field. We will get to that in a second. Many Braves fans already are very aware of Adam DUVALL. He doesn't really get the national recognition that guys like Jock Peterson or Eddie Rosario got during the great outfield overhaul of 2021, but he was one of the people that Alex Anthopoulos brought in. He was a stabilizer. He played center. He was playing center field when we won it all, I believe. I think he was the center fielder for Game 6. Might be wrong there, just going from memory. And yeah, I mean, he was already a Braves legend before that. He joined the team. He was traded from the Reds, I believe, in 2017, maybe 2018. And after putting up some really good years for the Reds organization, he was in the minor leagues. He was playing around for the Gwinnett Braves and waiting for his spot. And then finally it came in 2019. He took advantage of it, had some huge moments in the NLDS that, unfortunately, let's just say he wasn't one of the reasons we lost. And then 2020, he was awesome for us in 2020. He was the last Braves player to hit 3 homers in a game. And then he signed with the Marlins after becoming a free agent. And 2021 was so weird, just seeing him in the Marlins uniform. And it was funny watching the Braves play the Marlins that year before the trade, because he looked extra motivated. He had a look in his eye that I don't think I ever saw, and it almost seemed like it was a tryout. He really didn't want to be on the Marlins. He really wanted to be back with the Braves, and it happened. Unfortunately, the Acuna injury happens, but it does mean that DUVALL gets traded back to the Braves. Puts up like an 800 OPS for us down the stretch in 2021, is able to shore up every outfield spot. I mean, as much praise we gave Eddie, Jock, and Soler, none of them were able to play center field. DUVALL was. The most interesting part of it is the fact that the Braves, according to Mark Bowman, and I do want to emphasize that, nobody on the Braves has confirmed it yet, but he's typically pretty reliable when it comes to just insider news, and when it comes to like rosters and stuff, not as much. Just if he's predicting something, maybe take it with a grain of salt. If he's reporting something, then he's credible. They told Jared Kelenic that he's going to be platooning with Adam DUVALL, which is really interesting news. This shakes up a lot, actually. I mean, especially season starting in about 2 weeks. I bet a guy like Kelenic is pretty disappointed to hear that news, but he's still working on some things. I think it is kind of just insurance. Me and Mitchell weren't super thrilled with the Braves outfield situation when it came to the bench. Obviously, the starters we were very thrilled with, but go check that episode out. But I think DUVALL gives us some insurance. The thing that we were most worried about is, if somebody goes down long term, we don't really have a guy that can cover weeks at a time. And Adam DUVALL is now that guy. He will give us acceptable play. At this stage in his career, I know a lot of people say he should still be a starter, but, he's 35 years old. He's going to turn 36 in September. I think he's fine playing for this team in any role. He's a leader. He's just one of those guys that, Alex Anthopoulos and me and Mitchell have talked about this, has really done a great job just building a great clubhouse. And now you add to that with a guy like DUVALL. He's going to fit in really well. It's going to be interesting to see how he melds with this clubhouse. Because, yeah, he was on the team in 22, but it feels a lot different now. I think 22, we kind of forget he was still on the Braves. Played 86 games. It wasn't great in those 86 games. Missed most of the season. I forgot what injury it was, but he's still good. I mean, he's still a good player. He's still able to put up great stretches. He started the year on fire for the Red Sox last year. He should have been Player of the Month in April. He broke his wrist, but I'm super excited about it. Braves fans, y'all should be too.
The Braves starting lineup is very powerful. The bench is very much not. How's it going, Cole?
Pretty good. We just got off recording the Relievers episode, and we felt pretty optimistic about some of the guys, a little less optimistic about the others. Bench
is tough.
It's not great. Yeah.
If you were playing MLB The Show and you have like first overall, second overall for like pitching, hitting, if they segmented it into bench, I would put the Braves like lineup first or second.
Mm-hmm.
I put the bench at like 28th or 29th. It is rough, and that's probably including d'Arnaud when you put that bench in.
Yeah.
I was taking a look at this. I don't know how you want to do this, but so with the bench, you get 5 spots. MLB rules say that you have to have, I guess you have 4. You have to have 13 batters and 13 pitchers. You can't have 14 pitchers and 12 hitters. You can have 14 batters and 12 pitchers, but no team in their right mind is going to do that for a long-term strategy. d'Arnaud is a lock for the bench. So that's your 10th man, and then you have 3 other spots to fill. The Braves need a backup infielder, unless you want Travis d'Arnaud playing shortstop, which if Russell Martin can do it, I guess Travis d'Arnaud can.
Hey.
His brother played shortstop for the Braves. You never know.
He played third one time.
And second.
Yeah, and second. He caught a pop-up there. So you never know. Yeah. You can hide him.
I think we need to get off this podcast, give Alex Anthopoulos a call and say, hey, you actually don't need to take Luis Guillorme or David Flesher. Your backup shortstop is your backup catcher.
Yeah.
Take all the outfielders.
I think with this one, let's just sort of do the infield first, and then we can move over to the outfield. How about? Okay, I have an idea. I don't know how great of an idea this is. Let's go around the infield. We can skip catcher. We already did Travis d'Arnaud. If you want more of our thoughts on him, go to our infielders episode, just because it's sort of a straight sort of platoon. I mean, it's like a 60-40 playing time split. We felt it was worth it to include d'Arnaud. And, he's just been with the team for so long. We didn't want to throw him into the, bench
he doesn't
episode.
belong here.
And also, too, just want to say we are going to be covering a bit of Ozuna on this episode as well. Didn't want to forget about him. So I was thinking we just run through the infield and we say, okay, let's say Matt Olson is feeling sick. He had some bad oysters the night before. Who's playing first for him, and how do we feel about that? Oh, yeah,
let's do that. So Matt Olson comes in. He's thankful to God that Freddie Freeman was never his teammate. He goes up to Snit and just says, I can't do it. Snit immediately goes, Marcell, and then you got your backup.
Yeah.
It's Marcell Ozuna.
So let's first talk about Marcell Ozuna as a hitter. This could be our opportunity for him as a hitter, and then we'll go into the defense at first base. Or I guess we've technically never seen him play first base in a non-spring training game, in a non-exhibition game. We've never seen him play first base. I did, and I will tell the story, the Marcell Ozuna at first base story. It was very charming, very I love so many Braves fans, especially the ones that were at the stadium that day. So as a hitter, Marcell Ozuna had his best season as a hitter last year. I mean, I know 2017 is also up there, but I'm pretty sure he had a higher WRC plus. Also, I'm saying WRC plus because I'm looking at the.
He won a Gold Glove in 2017. He didn't win a Gold Glove last year, so.
I'm saying as a hitter. I'm just saying solely as a hitter. I'm not saying as a complete.
Solely as a hitter. I mean,
not as a complete player. He had a higher WRC plus in 2017, but I mean it's 4 points off. I mean you could make an argument that
If
last
you
year was just as good.
exclude anything that happened in April and you just took May to October, Ozuna, easily his best season yet.
Yeah.
As a hitter, if you have to have Matt Olson out of the lineup and you're just looking at first base, the offense is only slightly worse than if you have Matt Olson.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the conversation.
Forgetting who's replacing
at DH.
Ozuna
yeah.
at DH.
No, he posted some of the best numbers of his career, 9.6% walk rate, 22.6% K rate. But the numbers we really care about, 274 average, 346 slugging, 558, 346 on base percentage, 558 slugging, and a 139 WRC plus. He had a clean xWOBA of 400. I mean, he was amazing last year. 40 homers, 100 RBI, 2 round numbers that he accomplished in his final at bat of the season. And we both have a theory that a certain Michael Tonkin blew the game, so Ozuna could hit those marks. I mean, it looks better, and players do care about that.
And the Braves were chasing the home run record too. They needed that shot.
Yes, they did. They did. How do you feel about him going into 2024?
We did. I mean, we did cover him in the. No, we haven't. As a hitter, I feel pretty good about him. I don't think he's gonna have 40 home runs again. I do think he'll have 30 home runs. He had 22 in 2022. I think it was 22 homers. 23.
Yeah.
And he was terrible that year. So 30 home runs isn't going to be hard. It's what he does outside of the homers. I still think he's going to be a 110, 115, 120 WRC plus guy. That's really good. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. You're pretty much in agreement with Zips and Steamer here. And I'm looking at this. I'm like, wow, they're expecting quite the regression from him. He's 33 years old. He's the type of guy where he doesn't really rely on his athleticism. As long as he can bench, 350 or whatever crazy number he's able to bench, like, he's good. He's going to be fine as long as he stays healthy. He had going into last season, we were super down on him for obvious reasons, but he's definitely taken a character reclamation.
He's rehabbed more than just his bat.
Yeah. There were some stories last year that he talked to Michael Harris, and he's the reason that Michael Harris had his turnaround. He suggested, he told him, like, yo, you're the best center fielder in the game. Like, go out there, play, just great words of encouragement to him. He told Matt Olson about a swing adjustment that he could be making to get a little more power from his swings, and then Matt Olson just took off after that. I mean, I don't know the exact date, but I mean, Matt Olson went from having a good year to a great year.
When I saw Matt Olson play in Philadelphia, he had a 240 batting average. When the season was over, his batting average was like 280.
Yeah.
That's a ridiculous turnaround for half the season. He was hitting 240.
Yeah. He was probably on like a 30. I mean, again, I would say the first half of, let's just turn into a Matt Olson conversation, but the first half of 2022 or the first half of 2023 was better than the first half of 2022, but not by as much as we were probably hoping. And then the second half, or whenever he had that conversation with Ozuna, just took off. I mean, yeah, he went from probably having like a mid 30 homer pace to hitting 54 homers over the course of the year. Anyway, back to Ozuna. Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think he's going to repeat the numbers he had last year.
Sorry.
No, what you were saying?
I was going to say, I do think he has an option for 2025. I think there's a good chance when we're sitting here in November after the Braves won the World Series and we're talking about, what's next. I do think we'll have the conversation with, do the Braves pick up that team option? And I think we're going to both lean yes, which is shocking because back in May, I was like, we just need to cut our losses.
I think it'll depend on what the designated hitter market looks like next year. When JD Martinez ultimately has that 3-year opt-out after every year deal that he signs with the Mets, wouldn't be a bad idea to poach him. But yeah, I mean, I could see us. It's so crazy to think how far he's come, where we were at a point, even parts of last year. I mean, he was awful. He was hitting like 40. His batting average started with a 0 for the first month of the season, and we were just trying to think of like any way we could get this guy off our hands. I mean, and even when he started to turn around a bit, I was like, well, I mean, I think I'd rather have a guy like, and it sounds crazy saying this, and I'm wrong. I'll admit I'm wrong, but a guy like Sam Hilliard, because it's like, well, at least he gives you the positional flexibility. He's just more of a valuable guy to roster. And then, I saw him at Kroger on that fateful day buying a lot of fruit, like so much fruit. The more days passed, the more fruit is plopped in that man's basket. And he went off afterwards and pretty much had a August and September for the ages, along with a lot of Braves not named Orlando Arcia and Sean Murphy. So, and honestly, he underperformed his xWOBA. I mean, his xWOBA is 400. His actual WOBA is a 381. So the numbers suggest, and I think a lot of that does come from the beginning of the year, where he was hitting the ball hard. He just kept hitting it on the ground, and basically just kind of that uncomfortable zone where it's not quite a double, but it's not quite a single either. It's just a lazy fly out, even though he did put a good swing on it. So hopefully that confidence he had from last year also seeps its way into the beginning of this year. But yeah, I can definitely see us saying at the end of the season, like, you know what, he put up a 120 WRC plus. Yeah, he wasn't as good as he was in 2023, but we will take those numbers any day of the week. And, great backup for Matt Olson. That one game he played at first base was excellent. That diving catch he made to turn a double play, just chef's kiss.
So I did get to watch Marcel play first during one of these spring training games, and he looked like a guy who was new to first base. So there was this ground ball that was kind of this in an in-between zone. And to his credit, he did break to the ball first. You could see that light bulb go on that went, oh, that's Ozzy's ball. And then he quickly got back to first, was there to cover, made the play, got the out. I have to say I saw Bryce Harper make a play like that this last season, where he did go all the way into Bryson Stott's territory. Bryson fielded the ball and there was no first baseman there. So I think there is a serious conversation to have. Is Marcell Ozuna a better defensive first baseman than Bryce Harper, who is the Phillies' first baseman? And, after that, seeing just that one play from Marcell, realizing that, hey, that's Ozzy's ball, let me get back to first, I got to give it to Marcell. So
yeah, honestly, much better than Bryce Harper. He's also benefited from the fact where, one thing, you can hide a bad defensive first baseman. I mean, again, the Phillies and Bryce Harper, it's not like he's playing shortstop, or it's not like they're trying to put him at center field. Doesn't matter if he never played
definitely
first.
Not like taking a right fielder, making him the second baseman, and then saying, wait, never mind, you're our shortstop now.
Yeah.
And doing that at the last minute.
The Padres? What? Wait.
The Dodgers.
Oh my God. Dude, I can't believe they're doing that. Sorry, for some reason, I think I was looking up the Dylan Cease trade stuff, and so like I'm definitely Padres minded right now. Yeah. Right fielder telling him he's playing second base, and then no, actually,
Psych, you're playing shortstop, a position
for a
you
full
haven't played
season
since you were 17.
Yeah. Which, I mean, he did play some shortstop last year, but it wasn't great.
It wasn't great.
Great.
As a backup first baseman, if we're just talking about the bench, I feel comfortable with Marcell Ozuna playing first.
We've had some interesting backup first baseman situations that we've never had to live through, just because, again, Freddie Freeman. There was a point where I think Francisco Cervelli was our backup first baseman in 2021. He actually might have played an inning. I have to look that up. But yeah, I think in terms of backup first baseman go, Marcel's not the worst option. And then, you slot in a guy like Forrest Wall a day, or you give a guy like Ronald Acuna Jr. a day off, a day to get off his legs, and then you can mix and match a little bit, give some guys some rest for once. The farther away we get from the Freddie Freeman era, the more we can give a guy a day off or two. Moving on to second base. So let's say Ozzy Albies, he, goes to Antico Pizza before a game, and he eats a little too much pizza. It's a little too rustic for his taste. And he's not feeling super well either. And he goes up to Snicker and he says, "Hey, I really want to play this Wednesday afternoon game versus the Pirates, but I don't really know if I'm feeling it right now. Is it okay if I sit this one out?" Who's playing second base for the Braves?
The more I look at Luis Guillorme's numbers, the more I'm wondering why the Braves signed him. But Luis Guillorme is the only infielder who has a guaranteed contract on the 40-man.
He's projected to have a
starter.
340 OBP next year, though. I mean, I'm just looking at the depth chart, but I saw that. I was like, that's like, I mean, that's not an all-star level or anything.
Right now, his batting average was 193. This is a guy who has 6 career home runs.
But can he get on base?
8.3% walk rate.
I don't know. I don't hate that for a backup.
I mean, that's not great though.
He had a 10%. He had a 10.1% in 2022. Like, yeah, he's got zero power, but I mean, and he only played 54 games last year. I mean, and he's had extended stays seasons before that. He had a 14% walk rate in 2021 for a backup. I don't hate that. Like, yeah, he's not. If he's your starter, you're screwed. Like, you are having a bad time at it. But if he's a guy who has to come in and he's gonna go, I don't know, 1 for 3 with a walk and a sacrifice, I'm okay with that. I mean, last year was not a great year for him. He was not good.
Horrid. I mean, he got non-tendered.
Yeah.
Oh wait, my bad. He has 5 career home runs in 6 seasons.
Whew.
I gave him one
power.
too many.
No power.
Absolutely. Although I saw yesterday he hit a ball 108 miles an hour, and I was like, I didn't realize he had that in him. It would have been his second hardest career hit ball ever.
And he's still, I mean, even though he looks like he's like 43 years old, he's really young at 29.
I think he runs like a 43-year-old.
He does. He is very slow. I mean, yeah, okay. Last year was not great, but I mean, you look at him, and I think he had an injury last year. I want to say he was having an issue with his fingers. I know he got injured in 2022, but he's been able to prove that even though he has no power, he can offer you value on the edges. And I think for a bench guy, you like that. He's going to put up good at-bats.
I don't hate him overall. The other option here is David Fletcher, who I'm also like, on. Yep. I think David Fletcher offers you slightly better defense. We'll pencil him in for Orlando Arcia. But, yeah, I mean, the Braves bench is tough because they want their guys playing every day. And Alex Anthopoulos at that point is not looking for the best potential bench options. He's looking for the guys who are okay being on the bench permanently unless something happens.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how you go about finding those people.
I mean, one option is that there's just some guy in the minors who comes out of nowhere and you can pencil him in. We should have looked at the free agent market. Again, also trades as well. Maybe there's a guy on a team that's being blocked, and as the season's going on, there's not really a partner. So I think it's one of those things, a bench sort of like a bullpen can be shored up as the season goes along, and maybe that's what we're striving towards in a sense. We're going to see how Fletcher looks. We're going to see how Guillorme looks. But if it gets to a point, the thing that I'm worried about, and again, knock on wood, this is the part where we start knocking on wood the entire episode. Yeah, what if somebody gets hurt? What if Ozzy Albies is going to be out for a month? What if or Arcia is going to be out for however long, and that happens. I mean, last year Arcia broke his finger on a Hunter Grain fastball, and we had to see Von Grissom play shortstop for a few weeks, and that was, well, he's on the Red Sox now. Yeah, it was so scarring, it was so jarring to Braves fans that we literally ran him out of town afterwards. So that's what I'm worried about. And the thing is, you should never plan for the best. You should always plan for the worst. And there is a world where, something bad happens. And again, I hope it doesn't. I'm praying it doesn't. And we're in a situation where we're in a bind. And then teams can use that and say, hey, we're going to up our price now. We have this guy who's being blocked, but, we know that you really need him. Give us, not like Waldrip or somebody, but give us, I don't know, like a Schwallenbach, give us a guy that, like, we know it's going to hurt you to have to give up. And that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, but I feel like, Anthopoulos finds a way. I don't even remember who we traded. Oh, Taylor Hearn. We got
for Lopez,
Nicky Lopez for.
Yeah.
So he finds a way.
He will pull a rabbit out
moving
the hat.
on to, third, backup at third, it's the same thing. It's going to be Guillorme or Fletcher. I really don't want to see Guillorme at shortstop, to be honest. I think that is one of the things that is almost convincing me that the Braves should have both Fletcher and Guillorme on the roster.
Yeah.
Is that Guillorme is not a good defensive player, and he is your backup shortstop. Maybe for a game or two, that's not going to hurt. If it's like last year where Hunter Green comes to Atlanta and goes, I don't know where my fastball is going, and it hits Orlando Arcia on the hand again, then I guess you're calling up Nacho Alvarez or something.
Yeah, and again, we are bearing some of the lead here, where our lineup is so deep that as long as they can play a competent defense, which I trust David Fletcher to play a semi-competent defense at shortstop, not as good as Arcia, obviously, you can take a hit on the bat. Last year we saw that with Nicky Lopez, where it didn't really matter that he couldn't hit because we didn't need him to hit. I mean, we basically had a pitcher spot, and no offense to Nicky, we love you. Obviously, we're still your number one fan account, but the lineup is so deep that you're not going to take as much of a hit on offense if, we didn't have literally the best lineup in the league.
Man, this conversation is making me miss Nicky Lopez. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
It'd be so nice to have him penciled in here because, he's a great defensive player. And he's at his best, he's okay with the bat. But, I'm happy he's with his hometown team. He gets to play every day.
I don't want to get too much into it, but how much was Matt Carpenter's contract?
I think we cut $4 million.
And Lopez was set to make how much?
$4 million.
None of us are perfect. That's just like the Braves bench, as we're quickly finding out. Anyway, moving on to Arcia. So, Arcia, he goes to ASW. He's not drinking before a game. He's responsible, but he trips.
That server who takes those beers out, not as responsible. Forgot to put the wet floor sign out, right?
Yeah. He slips. Just kidding. That level of incompetence will not happen at that establishment. I just want to say that right now. But just in this theoretical scenario,
establishment you're talking about,
in this theoretical situation, that's never going to happen ever. Arcia slips, or just takes a misstep, and he scrapes his toe or something. I don't know. And he's like, Snicker. I got a little shaken up from falling down that step. And it's a Thursday afternoon game versus the Kansas City Royals. Can I take the day off? Who's coming in for Arcia?
Fletcher.
David Fletcher. David Fletcher in the baseball weirdo community is something of a cult hero, just because he was sort of supposed to be the next contact king, and he was that. I mean, he did make a lot of contact, but you do need a little bit of juice, even for a guy who makes as much contact as he did to still be what we would consider a contact king. So we got him from the Angels. I don't even remember who we traded to get him at this point. I remember. Yeah, we swapped the bad contract for a new backup infielder. And then we also got Max Stassi, too, who now he's with the AAA team in Chicago, along with Nicky Lopez. How do you feel about David Fletcher as a person?
He's had a really good spring, and I think it's getting to me. Like, I was a big fan of the Angels extension that the Braves are now paying for, which tells you how well that went. Yeah, I think he's hitting like 400 right now in spring training, which is enough to be like, oh, maybe he's back. If the Braves do want to go with two outfielders, he is the odd man out. He would start in AAA, and Guillorme is your backup shortstop. Part of me is tempted to just give Fletcher more regular at-bats, so when that injury does happen, he's the one who comes up fresh, and Guillorme is not the one you're starting. But I don't know. I just am not a huge fan of Guillorme, I guess, the more I look into it. So I like him as your backup shortstop. But then the Braves infield, you're never going to play.
Yeah. I can definitely see him as a guy that, somebody gets injured, can come in. And, hey, maybe he can put together a stretch where he kind of proves that he was who we thought he was like 4 years ago or 5 years ago now at this point. But right now, yeah, he could totally be the odd man out in the Braves infield. It's so crazy to me just with the universal DH how different we look at a bench where, beforehand, you're at least getting an at bat a week, and nowadays we talked about with Charlie Culberson, it's just he just kind of show up to the field just to sit on the bench and watch baseball.
Yeah, if your kids ask why you aren't playing, and you got to tell them in the best way possible that you suck.
Yeah. Well, not that you suck. You're just not as good as the, best lineup in baseball. There's just nobody that you can supplant in that situation. So, anyway, David Fletcher, contact king, will never strike out. I mean, he's going to give you good at-bats, but, again, another guy that we might not really see much of along with Guillorme, and that's kind of a good thing if we don't. Anyway, let's quickly move on to the outfield. Ronald Acuna Jr., there's a really great Waffle House across from the Battery on Cobb Parkway. Ronald Acuna is just craving a Texas bacon cheesesteak melt. Eats one. He had a great game the night before. Went 4 for 4. First Brave to hit 3 homers in a game since Adam Duvall. Next day, not feeling so great. He probably shouldn't have had that Texas bacon cheesesteak melt. It was delicious. It was made well, but sometimes the adrenaline makes you a little bit hungrier than you actually are. He's not feeling so great, and this time it's a bit of a bigger game. It's a Friday night game against the Blue Jays, but he's like, I need a day off. Snicker, it's cool if I don't play. And Snicker's like, yeah, that's fine. Freddie Freeman's not on this team anymore. I guess I could give you a day off. You've been playing really well. You're hitting 380 with a 500 OBP and a 700 slugging. You could probably use a little bit of a what's the Spanish word for nap? Siesta. You could use a little bit of a siesta today. Who's playing for Ronald Acuna Jr.?
I mean, who's starting for the Blue Jays? We got a righty or a lefty?
It's Kevin Gossman.
Forrest Wall, baby. You're up.
Forrest Wall. Yep, our guy. Forrest Wall is... I actually thought he was a little bit older. For some reason, I thought he was like in his early 30s. He's 28 years old. Tremendous speed. And he might actually be the best hitter on the Braves. I mean, he came up last year. He had like a, 230 WRC plus in...
260. Don't sell them short here.
Oh,
Barry
260.
Bonds is jealous of his 264
Yeah.
WRC plus. Barry Bonds wishes that he had a 264
Yeah.
WRC plus in a season.
Yeah.
If Barry Bonds is on Fangraphs, he looks at his, goes, man, why am I not in the Hall of Fame? I have a career WRC plus of like 180. I hit 762 home runs. I'm the greatest hitter of all time. And then he goes up into the search bar, he types in Forrest Wall, and then he sees that Forrest Wall had a 264 WRC plus, which is something that he never did. And then he gets sad.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what, too? You could say, oh, it's a short sample or small sample. But if it was the shortened season, if it was the 2020 season, it'd be a quarter of the entire year. So, take that. Don't look at how many plate appearances he had, okay? Don't look at that.
It was greater than 10.
Yes, it was greater than 10. And he put up the best 15 plate appearances you will ever see in baseball history. Dustin Pedroia's
in all seriousness, though,
13 for 13 streak, be damned.
I do think he is a better hitter than he was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I could see him, if he gets this shot, which Mark Bowman doesn't think he'll get the shot on the roster, and I disagree. But if he gets the shot and if he needs to play, let's say Ronald Acuna misses 10 days. You put Forrest Wall there. I am fully convinced that he'll have like a 90 WRC plus for the season.
Also, too, just as another thing, not to discount Mark Bowman or anything, but he's also really fast. And even with the universal DH, you still need pinch runners on your roster, especially
The
with...
Braves have slow guys.
Yeah. Like, we have a bunch of dudes who he could easily pinch run for in a late and close situation. I mean, Arcia, Kelenic, Olsen.
Ozuna.
I mean, those are guys that, maybe some of them, maybe
Murphy.
don't. Yeah.
Darno.
And yeah, I mean, Murphy's a guy, you put Darno in afterwards and you're not really losing that much in one at bat. So, yeah, I think Forrest Wall is definitely going to be the first backup outfielder. It really is just a question of how many more backup outfielders we have here. Any last thoughts on Forrest Wall? We have about 7 minutes left. I just want to make sure we cover the other guys.
No, I think Forrest Wall is better than you think, but he's not a starting level player. Like, I think he'll have like better than Kevin Pillar numbers, but worse than Jared Kelenic numbers. So
yeah,
Jared Kelenic should be the starter.
He's definitely probably I would say the bench guy I feel the best about, which is weird. Like, we have two guys who've had extensive major league experience, and yet here's this 28-year-old rookie who we're like, yeah, we are.
It was essentially
a
a first-round bust.
Guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So, going on,